A week ago, I returned to Fairview, West Virginia, where my grandparents had lived. I was excited to find stories for my next article. The town felt like a trip back in time. The wooden houses were cozy and the diner was lively. I couldn't stop thinking about my family's history. On my second night, I saw flickering lights in an old house across the street. I thought it was just bad wiring and brushed it off. Then, I sat down to work on my laptop. That night, I heard odd thuds and what sounded like whispers coming from the house. It made me uneasy. I didn't know what to think. The next day, I asked some locals at the diner about the house. They looked tense and exchanged nervous glances. "Stay away from that old place," one woman said silently, almost pleading. I thought they were just trying to scare me. But the lights kept appearing each evening. They glowed like secrets hidden in the darkness. I could hear whispers, but the words were lost to me. My heart raced. Each time I felt a chill crawl up my spine when I got closer. Every night I returned to the diner, my fingers tapping nervously on the keyboard. I tried to dig deeper. But whenever I mentioned the house, conversations stopped and places shifted. I started to wonder what I missed. I thought about the hidden stories waiting for me, but there was a heavy weight behind my curiosity. Then one night I saw the front door of the house was ajar. I felt my pulse quicken. Should I take a step closer? My instinct said to run, but I was rooted in place. I peered inside, but all I saw was darkness. The mystery pulled me in, but fear began to take hold. Suddenly, I heard a loud crash from within. Someone cried out like they were hurt. Cold dread washed over me. I should have left, but I stayed. A shadow darted across the room, and I felt a knot forming in my stomach. I swallowed hard and called, "Hello?" Silence met my words. I heard the voice again, muffled but persistent, asking for something. My heart raced faster as I fought the urge to flee. Then, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing at the window. I froze, hardly breathing. The glass showed only darkness, yet something stared back at me. My blood ran cold. Was I imagining it? I turned to run, but my legs felt heavy. The whispers from the diner echoed in my mind. This wasn't a story anymore. I was trapped in one. Just then, I noticed the figure move closer, still watching me as I stumbled toward the street. All I wanted was to uncover the truth. But I couldn't shake the feeling that some mysteries are better left unsolved. As I ran, questions filled my mind. Was I losing my grip on reality? I never thought I would find myself in such a haunted place. I barely slept that night. The figure at the window kept haunting my thoughts, replaying in my mind like a bad dream. Logic didn't stand a chance against fear as I lay in bed, the flickering lights from the old house still flashing behind my eyelids. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The next morning, I decided to take a different approach. I needed to gather information without triggering the locals' nerves. I walked into the diner, trying to act casual as I ordered my usual coffee and a slice of pie. The chatter buzzed around me, but the air felt thick. As I sipped my coffee, I caught sight of an old man hunched over in a corner booth. He looked familiar. I approached him with a hopeful smile. "Excuse me, sir, do you know anything about that old house down the street?" He looked up, his eyes narrowing. "Why would you want to bother with that place?" I hesitated but pushed through. "I think there might be a story there. Something important." The old man sighed, glancing at the exit like he wanted to leave. "You should forget it. That house isn't safe. You need to take my advice." His voice dropped to a whisper. "People have gone in and never come out." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" He shook his head, refusing to elaborate. Just then, a younger man burst through the door. "Get away from him," he shouted. "You don't want to hear what he has to say." The tension in the diner skyrocketed. I backed away, the two of them exchanging hostile glances. "Just leave it alone, miss," the old man said quietly, his face pale. I stepped back, a mix of confusion and unease flooding my thoughts. Did I really stir up something dark? I finished my pie, my appetite long gone, and left the diner. The whispers in my head were now louder. The townspeople clearly knew something. But what? That evening, I found myself drawn back to the old house. As I stepped onto the porch, the temperature dropped sharply. The door still hung open, inviting and terrifying. The whispering sounded louder. It felt like a plea for help. I stepped inside, the wood creaking under my weight. Darkness surrounded me, a cold dampness that sent shivers down my spine. I fumbled for my phone, using its light to cut through the shadows. The walls were covered with peeling wallpaper, and the air felt heavy with dust and sorrow. My heart raced, but I pressed on. I had to find the source of the whispers. Just as I turned a corner, I noticed a small door partially hidden behind a tattered curtain. That's when I saw it, a glint of something metallic on the floor nearby. My curiosity pulled me closer, despite the rising anxiety that was threatening to engulf me. I reached down and picked up the object. It was an old locket. I opened it and my blood ran cold. Inside were 2 photographs of people I didn't recognize, but there was something eerily familiar about their faces. Suddenly, I heard a voice, sharp and clear. "You're not supposed to be here." The sound echoed through the silent house. My breath caught in my throat. This was no longer just about uncovering a story. Something was very wrong, and I was in the center of it all. I gripped the locket tightly as I stared into the darkness. The voice sent a wave of cold fear through me. I wasn't alone, and the realization made my heart race faster than I thought possible. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to sound brave, but my voice trembled. There was no response. The house seemed to inhale deeply, a heavy silence pressing around me. I took a hesitant step backward, my instincts screaming at me to get out. Suddenly, I heard a soft thud from behind me. I turned quickly and aimed my phone's light in that direction. Nothing was there, just the shadows flickering ominously along the walls. My breath quickened. The whispers ramped up, swirling around me like a storm. I didn't know if they had a meaning or if they were just figments of my frayed nerves. I had to find out what was happening. I needed more answers, even if that meant confronting whatever else was lurking here. Pushing away my rising fear, I took a step toward the small door. It felt like a trap, but my curiosity was stronger than my instinct to flee. I nudged the door gently. It creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase winding down into darkness. Against my better judgment, I descended, each step sending a shiver through my body. The air grew colder as I made my way down. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. Ghost stories and warnings flashed through my mind. Why was I doing this? At the bottom, the staircase opened into a small underground room. The walls were damp, dripping with moisture, and a single flickering light bulb swayed from the ceiling above, throwing shadows that danced like restless spirits. In the far corner, something caught my eye. A wooden chest, old and covered with layers of dust. I approached the chest, my curiosity igniting again. It might hold the key to what was happening. But as I knelt down to examine it, a loud bang echoed through the room. The door I had just come through slammed shut, and the flickering light went out, plunging me into complete darkness. Panic surged within me. I scrambled to my feet, my hands searching for the door, but it was no use. The door wouldn't budge. I was trapped. I turned around slowly, my heart racing, every instinct sharpening. "Who's there?" I shouted again, my voice wavering as I tried to sound more confident than I felt. Then out of the darkness a figure emerged. I couldn't see their face, but I could feel their stare burning into me. "You shouldn't have come here," they said in a low voice, echoing the warning I already received. I took a step back, my mind racing. I had to find a way to escape, but as the figure moved closer, I felt the air close in around me. I couldn't let fear take over. I had to know. The locket trembled in my pocket, and with it, whatever secrets were lurking below began to reveal themselves. A chill ran down my spine as the figure stepped closer, their presence heavy in the dim light. I took another step back, feeling the cold, damp wall pressing against my back. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice slightly stronger now. I needed to regain control. "Someone who knows what you're looking for," they replied, their voice almost a whisper. As their form moved into the slant of light, I could make out the edges of a face, a blur that sent a wave of recognition, yet I couldn't place it. The whispers intensified around us. It was as if the room itself was trying to communicate. "You're searching for answers, but some doors lead to darkness," the figure warned, their eyes narrowing as they studied me. "Why can't I leave?" I asked, my pulse quickening. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being judged, like I had walked into a trap I hadn't been aware of until now. The figure nodded slightly, their expression shifting. "Not all truths are meant to be uncovered. Some secrets demand a price." Before I could react to that ominous statement, they reached into their pocket and pulled out a small, weathered book. "Have you seen this before?" I squinted at the object, my heart racing. It looked familiar, almost like the journal my grandmother had kept. I knew it had been lost in our family for years. "Where did you get that?" I asked, taken aback. The figure didn't answer. Instead, they shifted it in their hands, opening it to a page. The flickering light illuminated symbols and letters I couldn't decipher. My fingers itched to reach out, to grasp it. But there was something unsettling about it, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. "You don't want to touch that," the figure cautioned, sensing my hesitation. "It contains the past, and the darkness that comes with it." I took a step forward, instinctively driven by some inner urge, but the figure moved to block me, an almost protective gesture. "You have to understand," they insisted. "This path is not for you. It will change everything." Then, to my horror, the room started to tremble slightly. I looked toward the chest I had noticed earlier. I hadn't seen it before, but it now appeared as if it were breathing, shifting ever so slightly, as if the very air around us was charged with tension. "What is happening?" I gasped, panic rising inside me. The figure's expression softened for a moment, almost like they felt pity. "The secrets of this place are being disturbed. They want to be found, but they might not like who's searching." Everything grew darker still, as if the shadows were alive and tightening around us. "We need to go," I shouted, my voice breaking, but the figure shook their head. "Not yet. You must decide. Will you take on the truth, or will you walk away?" The tremors grew more intense, and I felt myself being pulled toward the chest, unable to resist the urgency of it. Just then, the lights flickered wildly, before plunging us into darkness. I could no longer see the figure beside me. Breathless, I grasped the locket in my pocket, the only thread of warmth in this chilling void. "I'll find a way," I whispered to myself, a vow that resonated in the heavy silence. I took a deep breath and steeled my resolve, preparing to make my choice. As I opened my mouth to speak, a sudden realization struck me. I didn't even know what the truth really was. I was enveloped in complete darkness. My heart raced as fear settled deep in my chest. I wanted to scream, but the sound felt trapped in my throat. I could hear the oppressive silence around me, and the faint sounds of creaking wood and whispered warnings. Then, without warning, a beam of light pierced the darkness. I shielded my eyes as I turned toward it. The familiar figure was back, but now they were just a silhouette, a ghost in the dark. "You need to be careful," they said, their voice more urgent now. "The boundaries are thin here. You might not like what you find." "Where are you?" I called out, straining my eyes to make out their features. "What do you mean by the boundaries?" They didn't respond immediately. Instead, they moved closer to the light, and I caught a glimpse of the book again, open in their hands. "You didn't ask how I got this," they said. "You didn't ask about your family's past." "Because I was scared," I shouted back, frustration boiling over. "What does my family have to do with any of this?" The figure took a slow breath, as if gathering themselves. "Everything," they finally said, their tone softer now. "This place is tied to them. Tied to you. Your grandmother knew secrets, secrets that should never be released." I felt dizzy. My body ached for answers, but I didn't know if I was ready for what might come next. I took a step back. "I need to leave," I insisted, but the ground started to shake again, and the shadows closed in tighter. "You can't escape this, not yet." Their voice became more forceful. "The chest wants you to find the truth, but the truth is dangerous." That's when I felt it, a cold draft brushing against my skin. It carried with it a voice, a murmur that seemed to weave through the depths of the room. "Find us," it beckoned, echoing in my ears. A shiver ran through me. I wanted to resist, but the pull of the chest felt stronger than before. "What's in the chest?" I asked, realizing this was the key to everything. The figure hesitated, their eyes darting back to the flickering shadows. "That's up to you to discover. You're tied to it now." They took a step forward, and I pushed against the wall, desperate to keep my distance. "Please, just let me go," I pleaded, my voice cracking. Just then, the light from the beam flickered erratically, revealing the chest in more detail. It was covered in intricate carvings, symbols I now recognized from the pages of the book. I felt a compulsion to touch it, my hand moving against my will. "Stop!" the figure shouted, rushing forward, but I ignored them. My fingers grazed the surface and a rush of energy surged through me. I gasped as the symbols glowed faintly under my touch. In that moment, everything changed. I could hear the whispers clearer now, and they blended with memories I didn't understand. Images of my grandmother flooded my mind, her face, her laughter, and then a darkness, palpable and heavy, enveloping her. I stumbled back, gasping. What did I just see? The weight of the revelations pressed down on me. "The truth, but it will cost you," the figure warned, their silhouette becoming more defined. "You must make a choice." With my heart pounding, I realized my path was clearer yet more complicated than ever. I had been drawn into a web of secrets that extended far beyond me. "I'm ready," I breathed, knowing I might regret those words. As my hand hovered over the chest once more, I braced myself for whatever lay ahead. I had crossed a line, and now there was no turning back. I wanted the truth, but the shadows whispered warnings I couldn't ignore. The moment my fingers made contact with the chest, the energy surged again, more intense and blinding than before. I pulled my hand back, but it was too late. The symbols on the chest pulsed, glowing brighter with every flicker, as if they were alive and responding to me. "What is happening?" I yelled, panic threading through my voice. The figure moved closer, an urgent expression on their face. "Stay calm, just breathe," they said, but my breaths came heavy and uneven. The room itself seemed to vibrate, filling with an otherworldly hum. My heart thudded in my chest as beams of light shot out from the symbols, breaking through the shadows. I gripped my knees, trying to ground myself. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me like a tempest. "Find us," echoed through the air again, but this time it wasn't just a voice. I felt it, a presence, cold and ancient. I could sense it reaching out, and I instinctively knew it wanted something from me, something I had yet to understand. "Listen to me," the figure shouted, breaking through the chaos. "You must confront it. Only then can you discover the truth." I shook my head, overwhelmed. "What truth? What do you mean? I can't do this." But deep down I felt that I had no choice. The energy compelled me, dragging at my very essence. I stood up unsteadily, heart pounding. As I focused on the chest, the symbols began to shimmer even more, revealing a faint outline of a keyhole. It twinkled like a star, beckoning me closer. Then everything shifted. The shadows twisted and morphed, coalescing into figures that danced just beyond my vision. They looked familiar, yet unrecognizable, faces I could almost place. "Your family," they whispered simultaneously, their voices cascading through the air. "Stop, leave me alone," I shouted, backing away, but the specters only intensified, crowding in. The chilling air pressed against my skin. "What do you want from me?" The figure beside me reached out, grasping my arm. "You can't let them take control. You need to unlock the chest. It holds the answers." I hesitated, the weight of their words hitting me hard. I wanted to scream, to run, but the chest's pull was undeniable. Reluctantly, I moved back to the chest. My fingers trembled as they hovered near the keyhole. Just a twist, and perhaps I could find the answers I'd long sought. But what if the answers broke me? That's when I saw it. A small locket hanging around my neck that I had forgotten about until this moment. My grandmother's locket. I had passed it off as a simple piece of jewelry, but now I realized it might be the key. An intuition surged through me, and I fumbled with the clasp. The shadows screamed, a cacophony that threatened to drown me. "Find us! Remember!" they urged, drowning out my thoughts. I clutched the locket tight, ready to face whatever came next. For the first time, the urge to learn the truth fully ignited within me. Was I prepared for what lay behind the chest, or would it lead me deeper into the darkness? In an explosive moment, I took a deep breath and slid the locket into the keyhole. The chest quaked below me, and the whispers erupted into a furious roar, shaking the very foundation of this haunted place. I braced myself, knowing that the truth would soon reveal itself, whatever that might mean for me. As soon as the locket slipped into the keyhole, the air erupted with a blinding light. I shielded my eyes, feeling a surge of heat envelop me, almost like being caught in a storm. The whispers intensified, mixing with the light until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. My heart raced. I had sealed my fate. The chest groaned and cracked open, revealing its depths. A swirling mist poured out like smoke, coiling and dancing around me, enveloping my senses. I stepped back, both captivated and terrified, my eyes fixed on the shadowy void inside. What had I unleashed? Then I saw them, figures emerging from the mist, faces that were painfully familiar yet blurred. My throat tightened. "No, not them," I whispered. I didn't want this. Each face called to me, urging me to remember, to feel the bond that once existed. I took another step back, but the pulsating light seemed to draw me in more. "Focus," the figure beside me urged, their voice steady amidst the chaos. "You have to confront them. They're here to help you find the truth." The truth? I staggered, grappling with the conflicting emotions swirling in my chest. All I felt was fear. Fear of knowing what had happened. Fear of these ghosts who once loved me. I shut my eyes tightly, hoping that would make them vanish. But when I opened them again, they remained, their eyes filled with a tragic longing. I could feel the weight of their despair pressing down on me. I couldn't face this. I turned to the figure next to me, desperation cutting through my haze. "What do I do? I can't—" "Remember your grandmother," they said sharply, squeezing my arm. "She loved you fiercely. Use her memory. Embrace it." I clutched the locket, heart racing. They were right. My grandmother had always been a beacon of strength, teaching me to cherish our family and the moments we shared. I felt a flicker of warmth amid the chaos and allowed her memory to wash over me. Okay, I muttered, my voice shaky but firm. I forced myself to look at the faces before me. "I'm here. I won't let you go again." As I reached for the mist again, it froze, and in that moment, everything shifted. The mist swirled violently around me, and I sensed that I was no longer just a spectator. I was part of this. The energy coursed through me, merging their memories with my own. Images flooded my mind. Laughter in the kitchen, a warm hug after a long day. Tales of the past full of love and resilience. Then something broke through. A name that resonated deep within. "Daniel," I gasped, remembering my uncle who had vanished years ago. A shadow darted from the chest, a silhouette quick like a flickering candle. "Remember him. He has the answers." The figure urged again, but a chilling realization churned inside me. Was I ready to know what had happened to Daniel? The whispers now formed a singular pulse, repeating his name all around me, urging me to chase it. I took a calculated risk, inhaling deeply before stepping forward. "Show me," I shouted into the void, desperate for answers. But the moment I did, the mist thickened, constricting violently around me. "Find us! Remember us!" they cried. But an unsettling fear dug into me. I feared what I might learn. The darkness enveloped me entirely, and then everything went silent. I felt weightless, suspended in the silence that surrounded me. In that stillness, my mind whirled with confusion. I didn't know how long I remained in that void, but the absence of sound felt oddly comforting. Then came a sharp, jarring crack, like thunder splitting the air. I gasped, heart pounding again as the silence shattered. The mist rippled before me, forming images that flickered like old film, a family gathering, a game of cards. And there he was. Daniel, laughing as a child, his smile infectious. The nostalgia hit me hard, but it quickly morphed into sorrow. I didn't want to be here, I didn't want to confront these memories, but the shadows shifted, demanding my attention. "Daniel!" I cried out into the darkness, desperate to keep him close. I felt a pulse beneath my feet, like a heartbeat thumping in rhythm with the whispers that filled the air. The memories swirled around me, and suddenly, I was no longer standing still. I was being pulled into them, caught in a whirlwind of the past. I stumbled forward, my hands reaching out for clarity, but all I touched was murky shadow. "No!" I shouted. "Show me the truth." The shadows twitched as if considering my demand. Then suddenly they coalesced. The images sharpened, dragging me deeper into one specific memory. Daniel standing at the edge of the old woods, where the trees grew so thick they seemed alive. My younger self joined him, echoing the laughter I had just heard. As the scene replayed, I remembered the warning he had offered me that day. "Stay away from the woods, you don't know what's in there." His words resonated, sending chills down my spine. I felt a flicker of recognition, a shadow lurking in the distance beyond the trees. Something dark was hidden there, something tied to Daniel's fate. I was yanked back, falling into the void once again. "No!" I screamed. "Show me more!" But instead of the memories returning, the mist shifted again. This time I sensed anger beneath the surface. The figures began to wail in unison, their sorrow piercing through my resolve like shards of glass. I covered my ears, struggling against the torrent of emotions. "Why are you so angry?" I shouted, my voice cracking. "What do you want from me?" For a moment the wails stopped. An image flickered, a flash of a bloodied hand. I recoiled, dread pooling in my stomach. "What happened to you?" I whispered, fear creeping into my heart. Before I could process what I'd seen, the mist exploded into an uproar, engulfing me again in a storm of memories and grief. My back hit a solid wall, and I gasped as the sepulchral wails rose louder, drowning out my thoughts. Then suddenly, in the eye of the storm, I heard a voice clear and piercing. "Find the locket." The urgency in the words shot through me like lightning. I had thought I'd put it all together, but the remnants of memory hinted that there was more to uncover. Whatever I had unleashed with the locket was just the beginning. As the mist faded, I felt the grip on my reality slip away, and the world around me twisted. I gasped again, knowing I had to act quickly. If I didn't, I might lose everything. That's when I felt it, the impending dread of something lurking right behind me. I turned, heart thumping, ready to face whatever darkness had been drawn to my call. I spun around, and my breath hitched in my throat. There was nothing there, just the dense mist swirling in on itself. But the silence felt different now, thicker, charged. Whatever had been lurking was still nearby, waiting. I had to move. As I stepped carefully through the fog, the heaviness pressed in on me. Each footfall felt amplified, echoing through the emptiness. The whispers returned, more distinct this time. They seemed to guide me, pulling me toward something ahead. I strained my eyes, searching for any sign of what lay beyond the obscuring haze. That's when I noticed a faint glimmer like a star in the night sky. I stumbled toward it, heart racing faster. As I got closer, I recognized the shape, an old locket, half buried in the damp earth. Memory surged through me as I knelt to retrieve it. Daniel's face lingered in my mind, his laughter, his warning. I brushed dirt away and opened the locket, revealing two tiny pictures, one of Daniel as a boy and another of someone I didn't recognize. The sight sent a chill through me, unraveling fragments of forgotten feelings. A sense of urgency flooded my veins. I needed to understand why this stranger was significant. My heart raced. Suddenly, the darkness seemed to close in tighter, the mist swirling menacingly around me. The whispers transformed into a cacophony of voices, rising to a fever pitch. I pressed the locket to my chest and shouted, "Stop! What do you want from me?" The noise dimmed, leaving an unsettling quiet. But with it came a wave of cold, wrapping around my shoulders like a shroud. The glimmer of the locket dimmed in my hand. That's when I felt it again. A presence, shifting behind me. I turned once more. This time a shadow emerged from the mist, its form just a movement at the edge of my vision. It was taller, darker. My instincts screamed at me to run, to escape. But I stood rooted, tethered by my curiosity and fear. "Why are you here?" I called, voice trembling. The figure paused, the air vibrating with tension. Slowly it stepped forward, and I could see a glint of light in its eyes. My gut twisted. I wanted to flee, but I felt captivated, drawn to the mystery unfolding before me. "Find the truth," it rasped, voice echoing with a hollow ring. It pointed a slender, pale finger at the locket in my hand. "What truth?" I stammered, feeling more overwhelmed. The mist thickened again, swirling like a storm about to break. Then everything shifted. The shadow loomed closer, and I could see it was changing, reconstructing into something or someone. A flash of recognition struck me like a slap. My breath hitched. "Daniel?" In that moment, something shifted inside me. I wasn't just a witness to the past, I was a part of it, bound by fate. Terror and determination collided within me. I needed answers, and now I felt I was closer than ever. But before I could grasp what that meant, the shadow lunged, and then everything went dark. When the darkness finally lifted, I found myself in a different space, a dimly lit room lined with faded portraits and dusty furniture. The cold air wrapped around me like a forgotten memory, sending shivers down my spine. I felt disoriented, as if the dark whisper of the house had consumed me and spit me back out somewhere deep within its secrets. "Daniel?" I called out cautiously, my voice echoing into the emptiness. Illustration after illustration of regret seemed to hang on the walls. I moved forward, feeling the weight of eyes upon me. Faces I recognized but couldn't place stared back, their expressions frozen, an audience to an unsettling performance. Just then, a flicker of movement caught my eye. The shadow girl with the glinting eyes emerged from the far corner, her features hazy and indistinct, shifting in and out of recognition. "You must keep going," she urged, her voice soft yet resonant, almost a whisper mingling with the air. "The answers are nearby, but you need to confront what lies ahead." "What lies ahead?" I replied, my voice wavering as panic clawed at my throat. "Is Daniel here?" The shadow girl's gaze locked onto mine, and for a flickering moment I felt a connection deeper than words could convey. "He is part of you," she replied, "but he is trapped until you face the truth of the past." With greater resolve I pressed on, my heart thumping loudly in my chest. The room shifted with every step I took. The portraits blurred and rearranged, teasing fragments of memory that pulled on the edges of my consciousness. I felt like a puppet, being guided deeper into a labyrinth of sorrow and longing. As I wandered through the dimly lit chambers, the air grew heavy with anticipation. Each door I passed begged to be opened, yet fear gnawed at my insides, urging caution. I remembered the locket clutched tightly in my fist, a key to truths I had yet to comprehend. "Will I find him?" I asked the shadow girl, desperation creeping into my voice. "He waits, but he is not alone," she warned cryptically. "You must welcome them all if you wish to free him." Free him. I swallowed hard. What had I unlocked? I had thought I wanted the truth, but now that I was faced with it, a sense of dread filled my chest. Finally, I reached the end of the corridor. An old wooden door barred my way, embellished with intricate carvings much like those on the chest. I raised my hand to push it open, but I hesitated, unease wrapping around my thoughts like a vine choking a flower. Memories swirled, both painful and comforting, of family gatherings and laughter echoing through quiet halls. Would I find ruin behind this door, or a deeper understanding? Then I remembered Daniel's voice warning me about the woods and the darkness within. I found strength within those memories. "You're not here for them," I told myself firmly. "You're here for the truth." With that thought channeling through me, I pressed against the door, adrenaline fueling my courage as it creaked open slowly. Beyond the threshold lay a room encased in shadows, illuminated by a single flickering candle on a small altar in the corner. Atop the altar was an object wrapped in a delicate cloth. The atmosphere felt charged, vibrating with the echoes of unfulfilled pasts. As I approached, the shadows around me began to coalesce into forms, faces emerging, some reaching out with expressions of sorrow, others melting back into darkness, as if they were afraid to acknowledge my presence. "Find us. Remember us," they breathed, a haunting echo surrounding me. I steeled myself as I lifted the cloth, revealing a weathered journal, my grandmother's journal. I blinked in disbelief, memories flooding back. This was it, the missing piece of the puzzle. As I opened it, the pages rustled gently, revealing secrets cloaked in shadows. The first entry was dated years before I was born, recounting visions and whispers that had come to her late at night, urging her to protect her family from an unknown darkness. My heart raced as I read through the warnings, the names mentioned, Daniel, my uncle, woven into the fabric of their fears. I continued, fumbling through the pages as my anxiety heightened. It spoke of rituals to ward off the darkness, cycles repeating through generations, family entwined with forces I couldn't comprehend. And then it stopped, abruptly ending mid-sentence. My stomach twisted as I recognized the abrupt cut, a sign that she too had been drawn into the void I was wading through. A soft light flickered from within the altar, drawing my attention away from the journal. With all the courage I could muster, I reached toward the luminescence, a small box covered in a thin sheen. Inside, I found a delicate silver locket, identical to the one I had found earlier but adorned with intricate engravings, my family's crest. Images flashed before me. My grandmother standing in the same room, deep in a ritual, warning against the same door I had opened. A knot of fear tightened around me. Had my family been led to this house by something sinister? "Daniel!" I cried out again, frustration bubbling up like molten lava. The shadows danced wildly, whispering tales both sweet and tragic. I turned back toward the doorway, desperation clawing at my heels. "This isn't just about you anymore." That's when the figure surged again. Daniel, cloaked in the shadows, his eyes brimmed with an intensity that surprised me. "You need to leave," he begged. "You're risking everything." The whispers intensified, and the room began to shudder violently. I glanced around. Images swelled and swirled, faces contorted with pain and longing. I could feel my resolve wavering. "There's still time," the figure urged, his tone pleading. "You don't have to take this path." I felt the clutches of the shadows tightening around my feet, pulling me deeper into darkness. What if this is the only way? My voice cracked as I grappled with the impossible choice of confronting my family's past, knowing that each thread woven into our history held the potential to rip apart everything I knew. But suddenly, clarity washed over me. "I won't let them take control," I shouted back defiant. "I'm breaking free." I grabbed both lockets tightly, feeling their warmth resonate against my palms. Dread and hope battled for supremacy within my heart, and fear coiled tight around my chest. "It's time to remember," I proclaimed. With an intense surge of energy, I closed my eyes, anchoring myself in the memory of my grandmother, her strength, her love, her warnings. Each of those moments was a beacon pulling me apart from the shadows. I focused on the connection grounding me, the force of love and family that had woven through me from the very beginning. Then the shadows surged forward, swirling and crashing against me like waves against an unyielding cliff. A voice howled, echoing Daniel's earlier warning, drowning in its desperation. "Time is running out." But I squeezed my eyes tighter, recalling my family's laughter, the warmth of their embrace. Their stories echoed around me as I felt the gaps in the illusions filling with those cherished memories, crafting a shield that pushed the shadows back. "I am my grandmother's granddaughter. I will not relinquish my past. I embrace your power," I shouted, arms stretched out toward the chaos. The shadows recoiled, flickering, unable to withstand the surge of light nourishing me from within. I felt the room begin to dissolve, each echo of memory merging into a blinding brilliance that fractured the darkness. When the light dissipated, I blinked and found myself standing outside the house, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. The air felt lighter, the whispers gone, replaced by the sweet chirping of distant birds. I stood in the middle of a quiet street, my heart racing. I still felt the ghosts of my family linger near me, a testament to the connection that stretched far beyond the veil of life and death. A smile crept across my lips as I exhaled, glancing back at the shadowy silhouette of the house standing alone, where I had faced my past. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unfinished, lurking below the surface, waiting for me to return to that house of whispers. And I wondered, in that moment of freedom, who else had been drawn in and what other secrets could still linger if I dared to unlock them again.